Hello everyone, welcome back to Shasha Voyage. Yesterday, a piece of explosive news jolted US into a dark corridor that stretches back 11 years. The story begins with a hopeful couple in Brisbane. They chose a blonde, blue-eyed sperm donor and dreamed of a child who would look like them. When the baby was born, the face in their arms shattered that dream. The child's features were mixed race, unmistakably different from what they had expected. What was worse than the error itself was the silence that followed. According to reports, Australia's fertility giant Virtue's Health did not publicly disclose the mistake. Instead, a confidentiality agreement muted the grieving parents, and the case was buried. Regulators did not seem to intervene promptly. It was only after media scrutiny that the regulatory body said it had been unaware. One family's life was rewritten, and there was no transparent truth to hold on to. We hoped this was an isolated tragedy, until the script replayed this year. In 2025, reports revealed that Monash, IVF's Brisbane clinic, had made a similar error in 2023. A mother who believed she had given birth to her genetic child was later told the embryo implanted in her was someone else's. Shortly after, Monash's Melbourne clinic reportedly implanted the wrong embryo into another patient. These three incidents form pieces of a troubling puzzle. Perhaps these are not mere accidents but signs of systemic failure. In laboratories that should enforce rigorous safeguards, every step ought to have double checks, electronic tags, and complete tracking logs. The reality, however, can be more fragile. Mislabeled samples, exhausted night staff, outdated systems, and a distracted moment can alter the fate of entire families. When industry self-regulation becomes the default approach, and commercial interests are allowed to trump patient rights, sometimes via confidentiality agreements, truth can be conveniently hidden. Why did similar mistakes recur across 11 years? Because regulation lacked real teeth, because transparency was insufficient, and companies could opt to resolve incidents privately, and because fertility clinics operate under inconsistent standards. Worldwide, without mandatory, auditable electronic tracking or independent oversight, the child whose life was altered 11 years ago is now at school. Their identity was rewritten from the very start. It is not only a matter of DNA, but of psychological harm, identity questions, and lost trust. Parents affected by these mistakes face both legal and emotional burdens, seeking answers for their children, pursuing compensation, and trying to rebuild what was broken. IVF should never become an assembly line. It is a technology buoying hope and carrying human attachment. The question for society is not only who made a mistake this time, but what institutions we will build to prevent it. Mandatory electronic tracking, non-bypassable double verification, independent third-party audits, mandatory reporting rules, victim compensation funds, and accountability measures for those who conceal incidents. Some propose giving every embryo a unique barcode and creating a national tracking registry. Others call for independent oversight bodies, external audits, and whistleblower protections. There are also calls for mandatory disclosure of major errors to investors and the public rather than burying them behind confidentiality agreements. These may sound technical, but they directly affect fundamental rights of families. If we have the power to participate in creating life, we must also be prepared to apply greater care, transparency, and responsibility to protect every trust placed in us. The three embryo mix-up incidents have shaken Australia, and they should sound a global alarm. I am Shasha. On Shasha Voyage, we walk slowly and think deeply, bringing hidden and uncomfortable stories into the light. See you next time.